Okay,
Yep.
we're on Facebook now.
Okay.
Okay.
On here. Everybody on Facebook, we're just getting ready for the show here.
Hey, Chris, be nice to Russ tomorrow.
Oh, of course.
Okay, here we go. Hold on a second, guys.
All right. I got all excited.
Get excited.
Not too excited, Chris.
Welcome to the Health Detective Podcast with Roberto Parker. Join strength and conditioning expert Roberto Parker as he shares his over 35 years of experience in training athletes and helping people achieve their fitness goals. Now here's your moderator, Chris Whiting, with Coach Roberto.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the Health Detective Podcast. Now, if you are watching live, you're going to notice that this Health Detective looks a little different than our normal Health Detective podcast. Roberto is actually out of town, but his dedication to you, his loyal listeners, remains steadfast, even though he's on vacation right now. But since he's out of town, we can't have his face online. So I also turned my camera off. And you're probably thinking, but wait, Chris, this was your chance to be the most handsome guy on the show. I get that. However, Roberto starts talking about smart stuff, and then I just look really dumb. So, Roberto, welcome to your show. Tell everybody what's happening, where you are, what's going on.
I'm in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota.
Oh, man. Yes. Yeah, that is beautiful country up there. Now, are you going to see Mount Rushmore while you're up there?
Oh, yeah. Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse. Oh, yeah.
Nice. Are you going to hit Sturgis while you're up that way?
I don't think I'll be hitting the Sturgis, Chris. I don't have a Harley, so I don't think I'll be going that direction. Nope.
Well, shoot. I mean, you've got a Peloton or something, right?
I don't have a Peloton either. I've got a spin bike sitting in my basement, but not a Peloton.
Oh, well, hey, a guy can dream, huh? So,
yeah.
So you're on vacation, but you wanted to continue the podcast because we know that every other Monday people look forward to the live edition of this podcast. And tonight, if we're still holding true to what you'd said earlier, you want to talk about carbs and do you have to have them to survive? Is that correct?
That is correct. And the ultimate question is this: do you need carbohydrates to live? Is it essential for your existence?
So before you jump into the answer, I was thinking the other day, and I think this relates a little bit, about how the guidance on how you should eat has changed over the years. And like when I was a kid, it was, your 4 food groups, and the grains or the carbs were definitely one of those food groups, and one that they told us to do big portions of. So it's funny how things have changed. And I know is the food pyramid still in vogue? I know you're not a huge fan.
I don't think dietitians use it as much. They've substituted something else, but I don't like what they've used. I think they just use something called the plate. It's like a round plate with a certain percentage of carbs, fats, proteins, grains, cereals, dairy, that kind of thing. Gotcha. I still don't agree with it. But, that's what they use. Dietitians dietitians and I usually don't get along very well. Let's just say that. I don't agree with some of their perspective and some of their philosophy. I think dietitians are very good for people that are, clinical, that are on their deathbed, that kind of thing, people that are starving in, underprivileged countries or something like that. But for long-term maintenance of health, optimal, maximal health, I do not agree with their philosophies.
Gotcha. And I know we've gone into some detail on that in the past, and I do appreciate your differing perspective, because obviously the four main food groups went out the window, and that's not even the government or dietitians recognize that as the way to eat. So this is a very interesting question tonight of, do you have to have carbs to live, to survive? And I cannot wait to hear your take on this.
Well, the answer is no, you don't. And here's the reason why. But before I go into it, let me just say this. You don't need carbs, but you do need glucose. Now, glucose is blood sugar that your brain uses, that your muscles use, that organs of the body use. But you can derive glucose from protein. And for every 100 grams of protein that you consume, the body can and will convert 60 grams of that to essential glucose. Now, in order for your body to do that, you've got to retool your body. You can't go out and just eat a bunch of high refined carbohydrates, because it won't do it then. But if you drastically reduce carbohydrates or eliminate carbohydrates, and you mainly consume a high protein, moderate, high fat type of eating plan, your body will convert those foods, particularly protein. It's called a process, and Heather talked about this 2 weeks ago, Dr. Heather, gluconeogenesis. And what that is, that we've had that ability since we've lived in the wilderness, because when human beings had to live out in the wild, sometimes they weren't able to eat things like berries and fruits and those kind of things. When they had to survive just on eating animal blubber or animal meat, guess what? Their bodies still had to manufacture and utilize glucose, because you need glucose for your brain. In fact, if your brain doesn't receive enough glucose, particularly when you become older, that's called type 3 diabetes, also known as Alzheimer's.
What? Wait,
Yep.
Alzheimer's is a form of diabetes?
Absolutely, because look it up. Type 3 diabetes is considered Alzheimer's. That's where your brain does not utilize enough glucose. And that affects the brain. Your brain can start to atrophy as a result of that. And that's really what Alzheimer's is. It's atrophication of the brain.
Wow, my mind is blown. I've learned so much already tonight. Good grief.
Yeah, absolutely. So, does your body need carbohydrates to live? No, it does not. Now, carbohydrates can be used for energy, though. So don't think that people listening out there, well, carbohydrates gives me energy. Yeah, it'll give you energy, but it's a cheap ass form of energy. It's just like you putting cheap ass gas in your car that might be slightly watered down. The engine will still perform, but will it perform at the optimal, maximal level? The answer is no, versus using premium gasoline. You follow me? Now,
I'm tracking.
premium gasoline is more expensive, but it burns more cleaner. Whereas, leaded gas, I guess they don't make leaded gas anymore, or just cheap unleaded gas will still do the job too, but it will not burn as efficiently. And carbohydrates are the same way. Carbohydrates will not burn as efficiently as using proteins and fats. That's the whole concept behind the keto diet, because your body will convert fat to ketones once you start to eliminate and deplete carbohydrates. Now, that process isn't the most comfortable, because you go through the thing called the keto flu, where you have sometimes withdrawal symptoms and headaches, and you get angry, you get hungry. So, the process isn't always good, because, most people we know live in industrial society. And industrial society is made up of food manufacturing. And food manufacturers, guess what type of foods they manufacture?
Shit food?
Well, I wasn't going to be quite that blunt, Chris, but
Oh, okay.
they manufacture foods that you become addicted to.
Well,
Now,
sadly, that totally makes sense.
it does make sense. Let me ask you this. How many people do you know who have food cravings for ribeye steak?
Hmm. I know people that love steak. I'm one of them, but that's not typically one that you get a craving for.
Exactly. How many people do you know who have cravings for potato chips?
Oh, this guy.
Okay. Brownies, cookies.
Yeah.
Hey, what's in that stuff? Carbohydrates, i.e., sugar. They know exactly what they're doing when they manufacture all these fast food snacks you buy at convenience stores and everything else. They put shit in there that's chemically oriented that'll make you addictive, either salt or sugar, probably more so sugar, but usually more sugar than salt, and sometimes a combination of both. They know exactly what they're doing.
So you're making them sound almost as diabolical and evil as the tobacco companies with what they're doing to people.
I wouldn't quite go that far, but they're knocking on the door. Yes, they're knocking on the door. I mean, I would, yes, because that is why I've always talked about eating whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
Whole foods meaning, okay, animal products. If you're going to eat plant products, like avocados, grapes, those sort of things. Raw nuts, if possible. Some people don't handle nuts very well because of allergy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Eggs. Some people even have allergies to eggs. Usually, got to be careful. But is much as close to the way it came from good old Mother Nature. Now, plant source foods typically are higher in carbohydrates, but they also are higher in fiber. So when you've heard me talk about this before, when foods are higher in fiber, typically, well, not typically, they do. They negate a lot of the insulin reaction that your body goes through from consuming too much carbohydrates. I did my own individual podcast about a year ago. Are you committing carbocide? Meaning consuming too many carbohydrates will elicit too much of an insulin reaction in the body, which can lead to insulin resistance and eventually type 2 diabetes. And I think you know what type 2 diabetes is. You get overweight. If it gets really bad, you can even, it can lead to amputation, blindness, that kind of thing. It could jack up your thyroid. It messes with your brain, getting back to Alzheimer's, because there's this chemical that your brain needs called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I know that's kind of a mouthful, but your gut actually makes a stuff called BDNF, which your brain needs to feed on. And when your body is not getting in enough good quality proteins and fats and fiber, that chemical is not sent to the brain like it should, and the brain will start to atrophy. Not to mention other parts of your body. Now, I want to kind of retract some things here. If you're a highly competitive athlete and you're just working your ass off every single day, like you're training for the Olympics, you're a college athlete, high school athlete, you can ingest more carbohydrates.
Yeah. I remember.
And get away with it.
Yeah, Michael Phelps, when the Olympics were happening, a while back, that was a big thing to show how much food he ate during the day. And it wasn't all ribeyes. But he was thousands of calories too.
You can get away with it then, because I mentioned this last week. When you build a lot of muscle in your body, muscles are the best depository for carbohydrates in terms of burning them off. Now, having said that, you can still do more of a keto or semi-keto type of eating plan and have your body burn carbohydrates, or excuse me, not carbohydrates, but glycogen, glucose, because now, once again, going back to what I talked about earlier, that gluconeogenesis, you're converting proteins to glucose. I know it's kind of confusing a little bit, but carbs are not necessarily equal to glycogen and glucose. Your body will make glucose without consuming carbohydrates. Your body will still make glycogen if you do consume a lot of carbohydrates, but that's not the most cleanest form of energy burning. You follow me?
I'm tracking. And so that's why when people do the carnivore, which we've talked about before, where it's just all meat, they're still making the glycogen or the glucose that
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, you don't necessarily have to be a complete carnivore, because I don't do that myself. I still eat some fruits and some vegetables, more so fruit. But if you let's say 70% of your diet is animal based and 30% is plant based, or maybe 60-40, or maybe 80-20, or maybe 90-10. But I think that most people would probably feel more comfortable, satiety-wise, consuming some type of vegetable or fruit. Now, I didn't say bread or muffins or anything like that, but some sort of plant-based source. Even with nuts, people with nuts, with certain people, you can even use nuts, because nuts do have some protein and fat in them.
Okay. Yeah. And so you alluded to this a little bit when you talked about, at least vegetables have fiber. And I know fiber counts as a carb, but I hear a lot of talk of good carbs versus bad carbs, the processed flour versus a whole grain, that type of a thing. What's your take on good carbs versus bad carbs?
I don't believe that the whole grain is not really all that great. Once again, you're still going to get an insulin response, not quite as much, because it is more fibrous. But let me just say this, that if you're a person who is drastically overweight and you have a lot of health issues in terms of your thyroid, in terms of your pancreas, in terms of maybe your triglyceride levels are too high, you got bad cholesterol, too much oxidation with cholesterol, I wouldn't go anywhere near whole grain flour. I'd stay completely away from it.
Wow. Okay.
In fact, I wouldn't even touch that much almond flour, coconut flour. And I know they talk about that as being, a really good substitute for flours, but I wouldn't even go that direction. Now, if I was talking to a person, and I've talked to some people who have some serious weight issues and health issues, I'd get them off all that stuff. I'd put them more on a keto / carnivore type of eating plan, high fat, high protein.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing though, but somebody who's training for an athletic event, totally different. It all revolves around the person you're working with. It all revolves around your metabolic type. In your case, you told me before that you respond better to more of an animal-based type of eating plan.
I do.
Or somebody, better. Yeah. Or somebody else might respond better to less animal-based and more plant-based. You follow me? So everybody's going to be a little bit different. Here's the most important thing. No matter what you eat, I've said this many, many times, try to get the best quality food you can.
Wow.
Yeah. If you got to eat bread, people, get the best damn quality bread you can.
And I know in the past you told me to look for like sprouted bread if I have to do bread.
Yeah. And then, but having said that, make it more of a treat. Don't eat it 3-4 times a day every day. Make it more of a treat. Make some special dish or something like that with the bread you're making, and just freeze the rest of it and have it maybe just once or twice a week. Do it that way.
Wow.
Don't eat it every single day, because that's not going to do your body any good, particularly if you have any sort of health issues, blood issues, lipid issues, thyroid issues, overweight issues, you need to get off the bread products. And the main thing is get off the processed junk. Okay.
Yeah.
I even say try to get off processed meats if you can, stuff like hot dogs, but or a lot of bologna and that kind of thing. But try to get more whole foods. Avocados. I like avocados. I like olives. I like things like dark berries. Those are good. Even dark grapes. Okay. Black grapes are good. Now, having said that, if I'm training a person who still has a lot of issues with their health and with their insulin levels, I'm probably going to get them off of grapes too, to be honest with you. Okay. But everything is relative to the person's makeup, their chemical makeup. I look at their lab report. I run an evaluation on them to see where they are, what their blood lipids show me, what their blood labs show me, because the lab work is crucial here. If I'm working with somebody who maybe is a subclinical type of individual.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that you do that you take that in-depth look and personalize it, because we all respond differently. Do you? I got a grain question for you, if I could, real quick here.
Go right ahead, brother.
Okay, oats, brown rice, quinoa. You have to marry one, kill one, and screw one. No, I'm kidding. But you hear oats, brown rice, and quinoa mentioned as healthy grains a lot. Where do you come down on any of those?
Better than white flour, but still not the best. I listen to a lot of people out there that talk a lot about protein and fat, people that are holistic people. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who I follow on YouTube, and if anybody's listening to this, follow her YouTube podcast. She talks a lot about protein, but she gave a statistic one day, whereas it takes like 8 servings of quinoa to equal 1 chicken breast.
Oh, wow.
In terms of protein, okay?
Yeah.
Now, what's the drawback to that? Because eating 8 cups of quinoa, that's a hell of a lot of calories.
Well, yeah. Good.
Okay. So if you're trying to take some weight off, that's probably not the way you want to go. Even though, I'm getting my protein through this quinoa, but you could do the same thing with eating a small chicken breast. Okay. So you're going to eat 8 cups of quinoa or have a chicken breast. You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to take off some pounds. So I think I'd probably go with the chicken breast. So having said that, animal-based foods in terms of essential amino acids, not proteins, essential amino acids, things that we don't manufacture that we need in order to sustain life every day and keep our health up and keep our muscle tone up. You're not going to get that from plant-based. You're just not. You got to get it from animal sources.
Gotcha.
That's the whole concept behind, what the carnivore guys talk about, like that Sean Baker that everybody loves so much. I know your wife loves him a lot too, but he talks a lot about that where the vegans aren't getting the essential proteins or essential amino acids that they need. Are there good things about vegetarianism and veganism? Yes, there is. In fact, I'm not opposed to a person even doing a vegetarian type of food plan for a period of time. I believe you should cycle on and off certain types of foods, for time. Let's say you're going to be really active physically, burning up a lot of energy, doing a lot of heavy lifting or heavy construction work. You need more protein, okay, more animal based. Now, if you're not going to be doing that type of work, okay, maybe you don't take in as much protein. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to go more of a vegetarian, animal based. I'm not really big on veganism. I'm not opposed to vegetarianism because at least vegetarians will eat things like eggs and cheese and yogurt and those sort of things. So whereas a vegan won't even touch it because they're from an animal.
Right.
So
Right.
You can still get some essential aminos from those particular sources without, having to slaughter the animal.
Yeah.
If that's,
Yeah.
if that's your thing, if that's your thing, you're worried about, animals and that kind of thing. You don't have to slaughter. You can still get eggs and cheese and yogurt and milk and that kind of thing. So,
Hey,
but,
I mean,
but
you can give me a ribeye. I'm good with that.
hey, same with me, brother. Ribeye, brisket, some burnt ends, and I can go to town with that.
Oh, you're making me hungry, Roberto. Holy cow. Well, this is interesting because I assume that most people would think, well, yeah, you got to have carbs, you
No,
have to. But it's fascinating to hear that not only can you live without carbs, but you can live healthily without carbs.
absolutely. You do need fat to survive. Essential fats. You will die without them. You do need protein to survive. You do not need carbohydrates in order to live. Now, having said that, if I told the average American tomorrow we're going to eliminate all carbohydrates, you probably have a lot of people having withdrawal symptoms like an alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of people are comfort eaters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Comfort eaters, meaning that, okay, they eat for comfort, they eat for pleasure, so they do those things. And that's the problem with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are very, very addicting in most cases.
Oh God, they are. Yeah, I used to have a real sugar addiction. And then, a million years ago, before there was keto, I went on Atkins for a while and I cut out the sugar, and it really kind of just got rid of my sweet tooth. I just don't have sweet cravings anymore. Which I still have French fry cravings and things like that. So, but wow, yeah, that's fascinating. Well, I know we're close to wrap up time here. Any last minute thoughts for the good people today?
Well, just, like I said, eat good whole foods, exercise, be active, don't overdo it on exercise, drink plenty of good, clean water, get good, clean, fresh air. Like up here in the Black Hills, it's a beautiful, beautiful area, man.
Oh yeah.
It's God's country. Plenty of fresh air, sunshine. That's your best vaccination. That's your best source of medicine. Get plenty of good sleep, and you're golden.
Yeah.
You're golden.
Yeah. It's just that simple. As you always say, it comes back to lifestyle choices.
Absolutely. You know what? Here's the deal. It's simple to talk about, but it's not always that easy to implement.
Boom. There you go. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. The process is simple, but exerting the willpower to do it can sometimes be hard. And it can help. And go ahead.
Here's another thing. I'm not opposed to a person having a cheat day. I'm not opposed to a person a few times a year, Thanksgiving, a birthday party, just enjoying it without worrying about it. But get right back on the wagon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the problem with that sometimes is some people, even if they take a day off like that, they completely fall off the wagon.
Yeah. Yep. And I've been down that road myself. And one thing that can help is to have a coach, like you do, someone that can look and kind of dig into your lab work and help you understand what might work best for you, and then help you with ideas for meals or motivation, any of that. And that it's been a lifesaver for me. If folks are interested in working with you and putting the power of Roberto behind their healthy lifestyle choices, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
I'm on Facebook at Hard Work, Hard Bodies. My number is 816-405-7703. Email is rwpsports@yahoo.com.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Hey, you stay safe. Enjoy your trip. Enjoy God's country. And we will talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Hey, same to you, man. I know you're going down to Southern America to climb up a mountain, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. Yep. Going to go see the Machu Picchu.
Well, whatever the hell that is, enjoy it.
Hey, thanks, Roberto. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Health Detective Podcast with Roberto Parker. You can contact Roberto at 816-405-7703 or by email at rwpsports@yahoo.com with any comment or question you may have. Join us next time for the Health Detective Podcast with Roberto Parker. The Health Detective Podcast with Roberto Parker has been a KCTK production, produced by Roberto Parker, Chris Whiting, and Paul Lavoda. All rights reserved. For more information and content, email us at kctkradio@gmail.com.